We would like to call the meeting of April 21st to order. Those who are able, if you will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'll remain standing for a moment of silence, please. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and if we could add under other business, the repair of the boat launch at Ford Lake Park. It was an emergency that's come up, and authorize us to look at repairing that and allocating funds for it. We'll go into more depth under other business. Is that all right with everyone that we add that?
Yes.
It just happened, so we apologize.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge.
Support.
Support Thornton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under the consent agenda, we need a motion.
So move, Peterson.
Motion Peterson.
Support.
Support Eldridge. Is there a discussion on the minutes or statements and checks or the treasurer's report? No changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, attorney's report. Mr. Winters.
Madam Chair, the Township Board has passed 2 very strong resolutions within the last 3 weeks. The first one was on March 31st, 2026-05, going on record as declaring the Township Board's strong and unequivocal opposition to the plans of U of M and Los Alamos to locate their facility anywhere in the township because of the Township Board's findings that they do in fact constitute a Tier 1 high-value target, and also the location of this facility in the township is in alignment with U of M's agreement to participate with the Department of War and to continue to do the research necessary for the next generation of nuclear weapons. In addition, the 2 locations that they have identified as being located in the township, including the one at the former GM plant, we went on record as saying that that location itself would be indicative of the environmental racism that continues to influence and control decision makers at both U of M and Los Alamos. That resolution was sent to every public official named in the resolution, and as of this date, none of those officials, except I believe State Representative Jimmy Wilson, has expressed their support for Township Resolution 2026-05. That's the one, again, going on record strongly objecting to U of M and Los Alamos entering into a partnership to locate here in the township. And I think during that evening we also stressed that the Township Board also would feel that same way regardless of where they propose to locate, that they would be a high value target in Washtenaw County or any other community in this state, given the nature of the work they conduct. So far, the silence has been deafening from the public officials in regards to even showing an inkling of support for Township Resolution 2026-05. The second resolution, we're seeking a moratorium, or request of Yucca to impose a moratorium on water and sewer service, is scheduled to be considered by the Yucca Board tomorrow at their regular meeting. And again, this resolution went out to the elected officials in Washtenaw County, state and local offices. And again, while we have received a great deal of media inquiries in regards to both resolutions, I'm sad to report that again, The silence has been deafening from our elected leadership in the county, as well as the state and federal government, in regards to what I think is probably the number one issue that's facing this township since the time I've been serving as township attorney. And I say this by way of background because, after our last board meeting, the township deputy supervisor received a phone call demanding more or less as to what is the basis for the township going on record stating that Los Alamos, locating in the township, would be a Tier 1 high-value target. The deputy supervisor requested that that person put that request in writing, at which time the person hung up the phone. Well, the township, unlike U of M and unlike Los Alamos, we don't have the biggest, baddest, and fastest computers in the world, but we do happen to have caller ID. And that telephone call that I'm referring to came into the township from the Department of Energy, Los Alamos National Laboratory, phone number 505-665-7778. That is the phone number of Los Alamos Public Media Relations. And I'm here tonight to say to Los Alamos, if you're not really clear as to why you constitute a high-value target, if for some reason it's lost upon you as to what you do that makes you a high-value target, then I would suggest that rather than calling our deputy supervisor, that you call the township officials or myself, and perhaps we can enlighten you as to why you constitute a high-value target. Now, so we now have Los Alamos doubling down on their public media relations by actually calling this township, wanting to know why we refer to them as being a high-value target. We also have U of M. They went out and hired a person from the state of Texas who has a background in sports journalism to now be their media spokesperson, who now wishes to also challenge the township in regards to what we have publicly stated in our resolutions and what we have actually researched. His name is Paul Corliss. He only came to Ann Arbor, from what we know, in January, has never been to a meeting, has never requested that we meet, has never had a discussion with anybody on this township board, and has never, to my knowledge, ever engaged in any kind of a conversation. But yet he went on record as saying that the township officials should be somewhat called out for, quote, flooding local conversations with sensational claims, inaccuracies, and intrusive tactics. I'm not sure what intrusive tactics means in regards to what we've done. I'm not really sure what the sensational claims are, or for that matter, inaccuracies. But he also goes on to state that U of M welcomes dialogue with community members in Ypsilanti Township, Washtenaw County, and across the state. Again, we don't know who he is. He's never been here. And but he wants to call us out for using the term high-value target. He said, again, that his national security experts, which he did not name, did not view this proposed center as a high-value target for strikes by our nation's political adversaries. Well, let me politely retort, and maybe I can explain to Mr. Corliss as to why they are indeed a high-value target. the information that makes them a high-value target doesn't come from anybody except Los Alamos. They have repeatedly gone on record as saying that they are going to utilize this facility in Ypsilanti Township in support of their nuclear weapons research. In a recent article that was published also in the MLive paper, they went into more detail, say that they're now going to be constructing supercomputers that will be able to run these nuclear war simulations by the hundreds of thousands, millions of times, to make sure that things are behaving the way that we want them to. They go on to say that laboratory officials have confirmed that a portion of the site in Ypsilanti Township will be used for nuclear weapons research. They insist live testing won't happen, but 50% will be used for defense purposes. They go on to say right now that the requirements of Los Alamos in New Mexico have significantly increased. They are going to add more than 700,000 square feet of new facilities and ramp up their production of plutonium pits, the trigger devices for nuclear weapons. This facility they're proposing in partnership with U of M is the digital brain for everything that's going to take place in New Mexico. Make no mistake about it, you can rename, reframe, and repackage all you want. It is a high-value target. That has been made clear to us by the General Accounting Office for the United States government, that they meet all the criteria in order to be constituted a high-value target. So, unlike New Mexico, the township does not have the natural geographic barriers that New Mexico has. They don't have the canyons. They're not in the desert. They're not in a remote location. Last time I checked, we do not have a hardened perimeter at either of those two possible sites. There's no federal security buffer. There's no controlled access. It's still a community with neighborhoods, families, schools, and roads, and none of us in this township have signed up for these threats that are going to be brought to bear if Los Alamos is allowed to locate in Ypsilanti Township. This is not just a warehouse. At some point in time, they have to come to a realization that what they're doing and what they're proposing is going to continue to pinpoint Ypsilanti Township on the map as being a high-value target. There's no other way you can simply get around the fact of what they do. They're tied into a national laboratory of nuclear weapons research, and they're going to continue to expand. And they're going to continue to bully the township into hopefully going away and accepting what they continue to try and cram down our throats. So you can call the township all you want and ask, why are you calling us a high-level target? The facts speak for themselves in regards to what they're going to do, what they have done. The testing does not have to be performed like it did back in the 1950s. It's all going to be determined by these biggest, baddest, and fastest supercomputers in the world. That's going to be the one that's going to simulate the scenarios in which a decision will be made whether or not it's appropriate to actually utilize a nuclear weapon. So at the end of the day, it's not a warehouse, it's not a business park. It truly are data centers, and it truly is going to be an extension of their mission in New Mexico. We continue to receive support, not from the state of Michigan, not from our delegation in Congress, not from the Washington County Board of Commissioners, The only support that we continue to receive on a regular basis comes from a number of people who live in New Mexico, who have lived right next to Los Alamos for the last 6, 7 decades and know full well what is happening in the country with the doubling down on nuclear war research and the production of plutonium pits. Keep in mind that it was the person from New Mexico, from Los Alamos, who came over to that science fair back in January of last year, who said that Los Alamos, while it would not be exclusively used for computational research for plutonium pits, that nuclear weapons research would be a key part of the center's mission. And when asked as to whether or not Los Alamos would be involved in researching, producing plutonium pits, Chris Kobe said that they could neither admit nor deny that question. So for us to believe that this is not going to be a high-value target would be foolish. It would be wishful thinking. They have decided many months ago, probably 2.5, 3 years ago, that they were not going to locate in Ann Arbor. Not because they don't have power or water over there, but because they thought they could come to Ypsilanti Township and find the path of least resistance in an area that continues to be divided by race and place in Washtenaw County. That's a fact. We know that the people here in our township don't have generational wealth, and they have less access to educational opportunities and health care as compared to other parts of Washtenaw County. And they picked Ypsilanti Township not because of our water and electricity. They have the same thing in Ann Arbor, because they thought they could come in here and be the schoolyard bully and force the township to accept the fact that we have no recourse, that we're not going to fight back, that we're not going to do anything. And so when you tell us, Paul Corliss, that somehow these are sensational claims, these are realities. And no matter how you wish to throw those aside and treat them as you would the spare change in a drawer, just throw them aside, it's not going to change what we know to be the truth. I just wish for once that the township could actually look to our elected leaders here locally and ask for what we have in the past ourselves given other communities when they've asked for our support. This township has always stood tall on issues pertaining to the toxic landfill. Back when they wanted to put additional nuclear waste materials, we fought as hard as we could to support our neighboring townships from having that forced upon them. I cannot recall a time where this township has actually been faced with what I think is a clear and present danger and not have anyone but our one state representative offer support in regards to what we need at this moment in time. And then to just add insult to injury, the audacity that the state of Michigan would have to grant and award the third wealthiest university a $100 million corporate welfare check to construct these facilities in Ypsilanti Township without even having the courtesy of asking the host community, Ypsilanti Township, what do you think about this proposal? Didn't ask one board member for support. Instead, U of M went to Ann Arbor Spark, located right down from the University of Michigan headquarters, and asked them for a letter of support. That's how they got the $100 million grant to come to Ypsilanti Township. At this point in time, I do know that we're doing everything possibly. There's other things that we'll be looking at in the weeks and months ahead to try and ensure this township is protected. I do have confidence that the Yucca Board tomorrow will also seriously consider the Township Board's resolution to declare a moratorium on water and sewer service for all these data centers until we can actually understand the impact they bring to this community. The township only has a certain limited amount of sewer capacity, and we cannot have all that sewer capacity awarded to one or two data centers, thereby leaving the township in a position where future development could not occur because our sewer capacity has been allocated to these multi-billionaire companies in which they also are just gorging upon our water and returning to us a wastewater flow that has higher temperatures than we've ever seen before, not knowing the composition of that wastewater as well. And one final point in regards to just how you can expect to be treated. Jerome Township is located in Ohio, and Jerome Township has had a number of fires or calls for first responders to come to their data centers operated by Amazon. Here's what you can expect to happen, because U of M has also publicly stated that there's the work being performed by Los Alamos is such of a high level national security that even they won't actually have security clearance to go into the Los Alamos. That's not very comforting, but I guess it is what it is. But in Jerome Township, they have a number of Amazon data centers. They've had as many as 84 emergency service calls since 2021. And the fire chief there in Jerome Township has stated publicly, quote, "They'll stop us at the gate and our medic units have been delayed. They're denying us access to patients, and they've had to wait for as long as an hour before they're allowed to go inside an Amazon data center to respond to an emergency service call." I'm sure that person inside was probably not one of those $200,000 jobs. Probably that person was working remotely. I imagine the person needing help inside was, again, working class individuals who had a need for a 911 response, and the first responders were held up outside the facilities for as long as an hour. You're not going to have access to that facility from a fire police standpoint. They're not going to allow you to have it. You're going to have armed security around that perimeter. If they go to the Ridge Road, they'll have armed security wherever they go. This is not going to bode well for the future development of this township to have a symbolic target such as Los Alamos located here. They've also gone on record when they received their $100 million welfare check, they went on record by saying, well, by giving us this money, this will also help induce other federal defense facilities to come and locate here in Michigan as well. So they are turning this civilian community into an outpost for the Department of War. And I really think that the township needs to continue to put as much pressure as you possibly can on public officials. They do have jurisdiction and oversight as to whether or not U of M comes to Ypsilanti Township with Los Alamos. People come here every board meeting wanting to know, what can we do to help? And I think the response should be right now, call the people there at the county board, call your state reps, call your state senators, call the people in Washington, D.C. that are sitting with their arms folded back in the chair and not saying a word. What is going on here? This is unprecedented in my lifetime to have this real threat to the township's future and no one seemingly wanting to step up to the plate and take on U of M and Los Alamos. It's very embarrassing that a university of this stature would align itself with the Department of War and basically do this to any community in Washtenaw County. We know that there are a number of people on, well, several people on their own planning commission who says that they do not want to see data centers come to Ann Arbor. We understand that. They also say that they don't want any smokestacks to come to Ann Arbor. Okay, that's your prerogative. But we are a working class community, very proud of that, I believe. But at the same time, we do not want to be taken for granted that you can put a high value target in the middle of our neighborhoods, in the middle of our communities, in our businesses, and just walk away and just slap your hands and go back and allow your scientists to do their computational modeling in regards to the next generation of nuclear weapons. This is not what we signed up for. This is not what we voted for. This is not what we deserve as a community. And at this point in time, again, I think the township has no choice but to use every means necessary to ensure that Los Alamos does not come to Ypsilanti Township at either location. We don't want him here at all. They talk about the GM plant. You have to keep in mind, they studied that location for 2 years, unbeknownst to this township board. They did not tell us until July of last year that they had been looking at that location, and that was why they were buying the Bridge Road property. Township said, well, once you go back, and this time, look at it again, maybe take us along. They refused to do so, so it's pretty clear they don't want us involved. It's also pretty clear now that if it's a high-value target at Bridge Road, it's a high-value target at GM's property as well. And we don't want them anywhere in this township. So they've not proceeded in good faith. They continue to say, well, you're making all these sensational, undocumented claims. Do your research, folks. It's very easy to find what constitutes a Tier 1 high-value target. There's about 9 different criteria, and U of M and Los Alamos checks every one of those boxes. That's a fact. It's not just hyperbole. That's the truth. And we've had people right now tell our board members that they are thinking about selling their homes, moving away. They don't want to live next to this facility. They're thinking about whether or not they should sell now before it gets too late. They're creating a fear and a panic in parts of our township. And they're doing it in a very intentional, mean-spirited, and unethical manner. And it does not behoove the people that work for the university. In fact, most of them, a lot of them, are our biggest supporters, are the ones who actually are employed by U of M, as well as the professors. But they need to do more also to put pressure on the Board of Regents, because they're the ones who ultimately have the power to make this decision not to proceed forward. So I'll close on that note by saying right now, Mr. Corliss, or the person from Los Alamos, if you really do have any questions as to, if you still remain confused as to why you are considered a high-value target, please don't call our deputy supervisor and ask her to explain to you what you already know, but feel free to contact my office or the township officials, and they'll gladly respond to you. But please don't call and hang up here, because that's not anything but intimidation. But trying to let us know that you called by leaving your name and number on our caller ID. And again, if U of M, anytime they want to come and have a public debate, face the public here, answer questions the way that we've answered questions at, I don't know, maybe 3 public hearings, they won't do that. They're not going to do that. They're going to continue to have their meetings in their ivory tower. I think Brenda went there for a meeting, and she had to go through layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of security just to get in to the Board of Regents meeting, and simply was granted just 2 minutes to make her case to the Board of Regents that evening. Open door policy here. You can come anytime, make your statement, and we can have a debate and discussion, but they're not going to do that because they believe the decisions have already been made in Lansing, as well as in Washington, maybe even at the county level, and maybe they have. Maybe they're right. Maybe we are fighting this battle upstream, and maybe we will be the only ones standing in the corner and fighting the good fight. But we're not going to quit. We're going to keep on doing what the Township Board has authorized us to do. And again, we'll continue to update the board on additional ordinances that we believe also should be considered by the board in the days and weeks ahead. This is a moment in time, again, to push back on any attempt to silence you, to tell you you're not worthy to have an opinion that somehow is at odds with a media spokesperson from Texas, to tell you that you cannot speak out and that you're somehow being sensationalism by speaking the truth. It might make them uncomfortable. It might make them, double down. The governor's doubled down. We've seen that happen. She's going out of office. She's doubling down. But at the same time, this board has a duty, a responsibility, and an ethical obligation also to ensure that the safety and the health of all our residents are protected. And you're doing that. That is your legacy. At the end of the day, I would rather stand with every member of this township board on that legacy than to have a legacy that's being imposed upon us by having these gargantuan data centers come to our township, taking our water, taking electricity, having got into the point about the DTE, how they're going to actually build a 110 megawatt substation to service these data centers, keeping in mind that only 10% of that is going to be used by U of M. That's being built exclusively for the power needed by Los Alamos to operate those fastest, biggest, baddest supercomputers in the world. But yet, we are to believe that's not going to be a threat, even though the cost of that project is $1.25 billion. One final thought. Sometimes you lose track. You say billions so often, you really don't even, it's hard to even conceive, what does that actually mean? Well, there's only 10 million people living in the state of Michigan. But yet between U of M Los Alamos at $1.25 billion, the one proposed in Augusta Township was over $1 billion, and the one being built in Saline was $8 billion. You're talking about $10 billion coming into this county from data centers that's going to just gobble up the farmland, take our water, electricity, etc., and not give anything in return. This is just unprecedented times that we're living in. I just can't, again, understand as to why we're not seeing the support level in terms of why people are not doing more. They're in a position of power. I mean, what's actually happened to doing the right thing? It's not always popular. It's not always easy. And you may not always be financially rewarded. But when you take an oath of office, like all those officials do, what higher calling is there than to serve your fellow citizen and to make sure that they are protected, the health is protected, the safety. These resources do not belong to any of us. You're borrowing those from your future generations. And you have a duty to ensure you leave this place better than how you found it. And you're not doing that if you're allowing Los Alamos and U of M to destroy property in this township. I was reading today about there was a time when Michigan is still considered one of the largest exporters of agricultural products. and look at all the farmland that's being taken away by these data centers. They're locating in areas where they're just absolutely destroying the environment. Has anybody been to Saline Township lately? What they're doing out there in Saline Township is criminal, in my opinion. Those people out there do not have a chance. 3,000 people or so in that township trying to fight against probably one of the most powerful multi-billionaires in the world in Oracle, and coming into that township and just steamrolling over those people. It's not right. And I understand that they have to do what they should be doing out there, but even though we cannot control what happened in Saline Township, and some may not think we can control what happens here, we have a duty to speak out and to push back and to keep on fighting. And I don't mean to belabor, I know there's a long agenda tonight, but I'm really very, very troubled when someone from Los Alamos takes the time to call this township and tries to bully their way through our deputy supervisor demanding to know why this township is calling them a high-value target. That's what you're up against. That's what we're up against. And I think right now that that's the position that they're going to take, and we're not going to lie down. We're not going to quit. I think they picked the wrong township to think that somehow we're going to succumb. We're not going to be bought off. We've been told many times, what is it that you want from us? What is it? Just tell U of M what you want. Tell us what, we don't want anything but for you to leave. That's what we want. We don't want you here. We're not for sale. We have a lot of needs, like everybody does, but there's also values and ethics that play a role in, or should play a role, and we're not going to make a deal. What's behind curtain number one? Number two? No, we're not going to do that. So, anyways, I think that, again, YCUA meets tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and I believe right now that they'll do right by the township in terms of the resolution that was passed requesting that they not allocate any more water or sewer service until these studies are conducted. And hopefully we'll get a response from somebody out there that's elected to stand tall and support the township on those two resolutions, because right now it's very, very silent out there. It's crickets. All I'm hearing right now is nothing but Jimmy Wilson saying, I stand with the township. I'm glad that Jimmy Wilson, the state representative, has the courage to do so, because he's not getting the support from other people and has received some blowback as well. So I'll end it there, Madam Supervisor, and we just encourage all of you to continue to speak out and to don't let up the pressure. Obviously, it's getting to some people. If they call us out and say we're being sensationalism, well, I don't think we're being sensational. We're being accurate. We're telling the truth. It's to try and pretend like they're not a tier 1 high-value target, or that they're not a data center. It's like just saying, well, I-94 is not an expressway. It's just a road where thousands of cars very high speed, going in the same direction. So you can rebrand it, redefine it all you want to. It doesn't take away from the fact that you are what you are. And you are going to impose irreparable harm upon this township. And some of it's already occurring. That's the real fear. There's a lot of it's already starting to occur. When people start talking about selling their homes, that's an issue for this board to be thinking about. So, ma'am, I'm sorry I went too long tonight, but I wanted to at least bring the board up to date in regards to those two resolutions and the lack of meaningful support by our local officials, and the lack of and the intimidation that's being brought to bear by both U of M and Los Alamos about this township, which I think will continue and may get more heated in the days ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Winter. Are there any comments?
I have a question. You stated that U of M needed a letter of support to get the $100 million. Was there a specific letter from a community? Because what I'm thinking is, we weren't represented. We were Ann Arbor Spark does not represent the township. So is that something to think about, or? Because, you know, when they said you need a letter of support, do you need a letter of support from the community that you're going into? Because otherwise, we had no say. And if they went through Ann Arbor Spark, then that's misrepresentation.
Well, you have to keep in mind that the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, this whole thing was wired from the very beginning. U of M wanted the $100 million, and under the way that the law is written, they either need a letter of support from the local unit of government, the township, or they call a EDO, Economic Development Organization. Ann Arbor Spark is an EDO. And so rather than come to this township and just say, we think we have a good idea, we think we have an idea that maybe you'll like, it's going to be X, Y, and Z, can you give us a letter of support? But instead, they went to Ann Arbor Spark, who basically is an economic arm of the University of Michigan. And they got a letter, it's such an incestuous relationship. They get a letter from an organization that they have tremendous amount of impact and control over. They get that letter from them and take it to Lansing and say, hey, we have a letter of support. Not from the township, they don't even know anything about it. We got a letter of support from Ann Arbor Spark, so now can you give us $100 million? And of course they say, yes, that's a good thing. So the whole thing is just, and I don't like to say, you know, that things are underhanded, but it's, to me, it wasn't an accident that they went to Ann Arbor Spark. It wasn't an accident that they kept this township board from being an active and involved participant. It wasn't an accident that they went ahead and bought 144 acres of land and then they tell us, well, we're still trying to decide what to do. Well, we'll go ahead and buy the land first. Go ahead and get the funding in place. But we're still listening. That's their way of saying right now, you don't really matter. Your opinion doesn't really count. But this whole process is just so rife with exploitation and working the system and gaming the system that it's really disgusting to us, because right now, if you do things above board, you may not agree with it, but you at least have an opportunity to weigh in and give your opinion as a board member whether you would support this type of request. But to do it behind the way they did it, it was sneaky. Was it legal? Probably, but it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it ethical. It doesn't make it moral, because you're now trying to impose upon us, and you're the third wealthiest university. And I cannot help but think of all the millions of people, and even in this state, hundreds of thousands, that during this time period, they're getting $100 million to a university that's got a $21 billion endowment. That when I give you $100 million, the people that are getting cut off Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, and the list goes on and on. But there's never enough. It's like we said before, they believe that greed is good, and they're not going to stop. And hopefully, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to me, because I think that we all love this state. We all love our institutions here. We all love our communities. We've been blessed to have two great universities in our county and two great hospitals and everything. And I've never seen a situation where you would be embarrassed to say that one of the greatest universities from a learning standpoint, educational standpoint, has aligned itself with the Department of War and has basically sold itself out in order to continue to reap the hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars in defense contracts and impose their will upon a township that may not be in the same economic position as other communities within Washtenaw County, because we can do that. What are they going to say about it? And so MEDC was part of that as well. The state of Michigan was part of that as well. The governor's office, absolutely part of it. No question about that. And right now, it's hard to tell board members that, yes, it's illegal what they did. It's not right. It's not right. But, at the same time, there is that clawback legislation that Jimmy Wilson introduced in Lansing. I don't know if they'll get a vote on it or not, but hopefully at some point in time, they can change some of this because it cannot continue to operate this way without having dire consequences for other communities besides Ypsilanti Township. We're not the only ones.
Thank you. Any other comments? Clerk Swanson?
So thank you, Attorney Winters. I appreciate your comments on communication because it matters. Communication has an opportunity to build trust. Who you send as your spokesperson is also super important. Unfortunately, it feels like the communication that's being done about us is dismissive, as if we're not worthy of clear, real communication that from a knowledgeable person who can speak from that point. Explain what you think. If it's not a high-value target, then tell us why that is. Don't just dismiss us because we're concerned about it and we think differently. U of M considers itself a research institution. When you're researching, questioning is important, as well as providing evidence. So this should be something that's easy for them to do. It's what they say they do every day, what they stand for, what they value. They have access to individuals who could speak with knowledge on this topic. It's not a sports journalist or someone who has background in sports. And the name Paul Corliss got on my radar because it's somebody who was talking about us that we've never been in a room with. That didn't make sense to me. And interestingly enough, someone asked him recently about the investigation with the football program, an area that a sports journalist would at least have some experience on. And I think everybody understands when there's an investigation, you're not going to have a comment. But if there was a place where he has experience to speak, it would probably be in that arena. So make no mistake, this is not a simulation. It's not a game. It's not a sport. We are not playing. There will be winners and losers, though. This is about real lives, real people, real property, real life, real ecosystems, real environment. It can go on and on and on. We are worthy of people communicating in ways that take us seriously and respect us. We have a right to ask questions about something that's going to happen to our community and it's going to impact us, and we have not been at the table in meaningful ways. So I appreciate the conversation and the attorney's report around communication today because it matters to everybody here. The people who are going to be on site, because the computers are what they're going to put on site over here. But there's a whole community that they're going to site that facility in that is really worried about what's going to happen to us.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments? I look forward to the YCUA board meeting tomorrow, and where this is on the agenda and recommended by the director of YCUA as well. And you can't unhear, you can't unsee or unlearn what we have learned about these data centers. We didn't know what they were. No, I don't think anyone really knew what they were, but I do know that people know now. And they're caring. They're coming to our township board. They're going to other township boards. They're asking the state to help. The University of Michigan did a poverty solutions report 2015 and just updated it. They did it 2020 and 2025. It came out this year. 48197 and 48198. There's a map. You can compare it. There were other areas that were, it was in the red area, which is lower opportunities, and it was for health, education, and economics. The disparity is great. Our area did not change at all in colors. 3 other areas that were red are no longer red. So they've risen up to higher opportunity. This will keep us down. This will not raise us out of being in a lower opportunity area as designated by the University of Michigan. And someone, I was reading, poverty is a circumstance, not a life sentence. You put this in our community, it will not allow us to prosper. Our home values will not go up. Businesses will not locate here. And that's unjust, it's unfair, and that is what we're fighting for. And I'm just so thankful for our residents who come to every meeting and who brought this to our attention in the beginning. And we went back to U of M and I said, we need help in answering these questions, and there was no help. So we went ourselves to Ohio to see what they were. Of course, we can't get inside, like Mr. Winters said. There is security all around it, and we got as close as we can. Trustee Thornton and I and our planner went, and there was 21 centers in one area. It was planned, but now Ohio, and it was in Ohio, but now Ohio is saying, no, no more. We can't take it with our infrastructure. But that was a planned. What happened in Michigan was not planned at all. They decided to rush it through in December of 2024, and it was rushed. It's not a good economic plan that isn't shared with the public, that doesn't have input from the public, and Governor Whitmer just continues to push this agenda. Even though no one supports it, or they want more information, or what are we going to do with the electricity and the water and the sewer capacity? And I want to just thank Mr. Winters on his ability to articulate the importance of the sewer capacity. Because in our community, we will not have any other growth other than data centers if two large ones came in. And that's not the vision, that's not the master plan, that's not what our people want, that's not what this board wants, and there has to be ways to do it in a above board manner and work together, not try to ram it down someone's throat and hope they get it. They do not have to go through the Planning Commission. They do not have to go to the Township Board. They do not pay any taxes, whether it's Los Alamos or U of M. And it's a shame that we have no place to really voice our opinion other than at public meetings, and to take action and try to get as much help as we can from people who are in power. So we continue to ask people to help us with Los Alamos, say no to Los Alamos anywhere, and hopefully someone will stand up with our people, our community, our residents on this very important issue. It will destroy our community, our future of our community, and it's probably the biggest issue I've ever faced in my 36 years of serving. It's that important to the future, so it's worth fighting for. Thank you. Under old business, we have approved second reading of Resolution 2026-06, which is a proposed ordinance 2026-514, an ordinance text amendment towing services without an impound or storage yard, taxi terminals and dispatch facilities, limousine services, and bus depots. The first reading was held on April 7th at our regular meeting. Clerk Swanson.
Whereas the township receives interest from towing services without an impound or storage yard, taxi terminals and dispatch facilities, limousine services and bus depots with a desire for access to the regional transportation network of interstates and highways, and whereas there is not a specific zoning district in the township zoning ordinance that presently permits this land use, and whereas in studying towing services, dispatch centers, and related land uses as a potential land use in the township, it has become evident that these uses are best located in an industrial district with great access to highways and interstates, where it mitigates traffic impact to other commercial corridors and residential areas of the township. And whereas the township is committed to locating towing services, dispatch centers, and related land uses in areas with appropriate infrastructure and minimal impact on surrounding properties, and minimizing adverse effects on residents and adjacent communities, including managing traffic. Whereas the ordinance and amendment is consistent with the intent of the ICR Industrial and Commercial Revitalization District, as well as the township's current master plan, and whereas it is regularly, whereas at its regularly scheduled meeting held March 24th, 2026, the Charter Township of Ypsilanti Planning Commission held a public hearing, discussed the proposed tax amendments, and recommended that the Township Board approve the ordinance amendment by Resolution PC 2026-01 as presented. Now therefore be it resolved that the Charter Township of Ypsilanti Board hereby adopts and incorporates by reference ordinance number 2026-514 attached hereto by reference in its entirety. Oh, sorry, so moved.
Motion Swenson,
Support.
support Eldridge. Are there questions, or this is a second reading on this ordinance? Questions or comments?
So I have one question. It looks like there's a typo. Are we allowed to fix that? In the last paragraph, whereas at its regularly scheduled meeting, are we allowed to fix that typo?
Of course.
Okay.
These, just have a question.
Trustee Newman?
These towing services will not have a storage yard, and they'll be located in the revitalization area?
That is correct, and I want to answer your question, but also kind of add on to what Trustee Rowe, Lovejoy Rowe had asked for at the last meeting. These are restricted to the industrial and commercial revitalization as a special land use, so the Planning Commission would get the ability to approve it. What is not in this ordinance tonight, but what is existing within the ordinance, is that for this land use, all repair, work, and vehicles and equipment associated with the use shall be within an enclosed building. So if you're doing any repair of anything, it should be within an enclosed building. Outdoor storage of vehicles and equipment associated with the use is permitted with this use, provided that the site includes a building of at least 500 feet. So that is already in place. That remains to be the same if this ordinance passed. Now, and I did want to clarify, like the way it's currently listed with all these different land uses, towing services without an impound or storage yard, that is where you have the towing trucks that are stored there. They can be stored outside if it follows this ordinance. It is not a junkyard. It is not, even though we have those existing in the township, there's not an ability to, we do have some allowances because we have so many, that we do not have allowance. That's a different land use than this. That's a more intense land use than these towing services without an impound or storage yard, taxis, terminals, or dispatch facilities. So I know that was a long answer. I hope that helped to answer your question.
So you'll have a building, and you'll have cars around it,
Yep,
but you won't be a junkyard.
correct.
So how many cars would the building be able to store without it looking like a junkyard?
So the thing about the cars that are being stored, is they have to be related to the operation that's there. It really, when you're looking at the township would be looking at an application coming forward. This is for a dispatch center, whether it's for taxis, whether it's for tow trucks.
Okay.
And really what we're looking at, what the Planning Commission is going to be looking at in a site plan is how intense is this use? So it's related to the building, number of employees, and it really is specifically for the vehicles tied to this business, not not vehicles that are.
Could you turn your mic on, please?
Thank you. Yeah. Not vehicles that are under repair. And so really there's there's different scales, and Planning Commission gets to assess during the special land use process for a given site if that's an appropriate use in that area.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comment? We have to do a roll call vote because it's an ordinance and we have to have 2 readings. So Trustee Newman,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Stumba votes yes, Eldridge,
Yes.
and Thornton.
Yes.
The second reading is adopted. Thank you, Mark. Under new business, we have a request to approve the contract with Carlisle Wortman and Associates for an update of the 2020 master plan in the amount of $31,175, which is budgeted. We do have Megan Mason Minna with us from Carlisle Wortman. Is there a motion?
So moved, Peterson.
Motion Peterson,
Support?
Newman.
support Newman. Would you like to, we have to do this.
First of all, thank you for continuing the relationship with Carlisle Wortman and having us back again to help update your master plan. The last master plan we helped with was award-winning, and we want to build off of that success, but recognize that a lot has changed since 2019, and are proposing a process where we would kick off with your staff and your elected officials, and then do an existing conditions update. Again, land use, demographics, utilities have changed since then. Update all the maps with recent data and look at future land use designations, especially about border properties with other communities, and also to sit down with your staff and full-time elected officials to look at the master plan goals, the catalyst projects, implementation, and special area chapters that were really a big part of the last plan, but probably do need to be looked at again and have that input. Then we would work on the special area plans that were in the current master plan, specifically E-Course in East Michigan. Of course, we would want to interact with the community here and looking to do an open house along with that. And then to work with a subcommittee of the Planning Commission to update the text itself, and then also the Planning Commission to have 2 workshops. After that, we would have a draft and would go through the standard process that's mandated by state law. And I can answer any questions that you have about the process, or you might have some questions about the master plan in general, or things that could be addressed.
Are there questions or comments? We have to do this, right?
You have to look at it and
Every 5
examine
years.
it, yeah.
Yes. And
Yes.
it's required by the state of Michigan and the,
It's required by state law, Michigan Zoning Enabling Act.
yes. So we did a very large update in 2020.
Yes, yes.
And so that was a major update. And this is a midterm one, is what I call it. And it's required to do it. And there has been changes. You're absolutely right. We've, ideas have, not only around data centers, but other issues have come up, just things that are ideas, because things change. And you have to change with it, and you have to put it in your ordinance and how we can allow it to happen or prevent bad things from happening.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
You're
We have a
welcome.
motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to approve the facility use agreement with Destination Ann Arbor to host RoFest 2026 Ford Lake Park, at Ford Lake Park. Motion,
So moved.
motion Eldridge,
Support Peterson.
support Peterson. And I'm just going to, we do have representatives here, but I just want you to know that the supervisor's office put this on the agenda, and we are requesting approval of the facility use agreement with Destination Ann Arbor for hosting RoFest 2026 at Ford Lake Park. At the September 16th, 2025 board meeting, the trustees approve the ROFES special event application contingent upon a contract review and it coming back to the board. And that's what before you this evening. 2026 will mark the second consecutive year that ROFES is held in Ypsilanti Township. And although the event typically rotates venues, both the organizers and the participants were highly impressed with last year's experience and requested to return. And a lot of that is really due to the efforts of our staff. I mean, this was a huge event. We had no idea what it meant. In Destination Ann Arbor, it was their first large event with the ROFES as well. But our staff, just, I can't thank them enough for the hours and the volunteer hours that a lot of people put in to make this event a success. And it actually earned their Governor's Award for Collaborative Tourism that was presented on April 8th at 2026 Pure Michigan Governor's Conference. And this ROFES is tentatively scheduled for July 11th through the 20th, with the setup beginning July 6th and tear down on July 22nd. So that gives you a little more history behind it. Sarah, I don't know if you would like to say a few words.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Supervisor. Actually, hot off the press just today, in fact, I wanted to share exciting news that we won another award for this partnership just today. The team is down in Las Vegas, Nevada for national recognition this time at the Sports ETA conference for the same recognition for our partnership. So this is definitely getting national attention, and I agree, it is all because of the great work that everyone did together. So thank you for that, and that's really exciting news. So thank you so much for that, and we should all be really proud for that work that we've done together. So thank you so much for that partnership.
Yeah.
And together with EMU, of course. We have other partners that are part of this as well, with the Eastern and the Ypsilanti Marriott as well, that made this possible. So thank you all for that.
Do you want to? He's kind of low key.
He's low key.
I'm here to answer rowing questions.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Are there any questions for Destination Ann Arbor? Mr. Winters, thank you for all your work on this as well. 3 full-time officials. We put a lot of time and effort, and I think it's a good agreement. So if there's not any, we have a motion in support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3 is approval of the renewal of Uniform Video Service Local Franchise Agreement for DirecTV and to authorize signing of the agreement.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge.
Support.
Support Thornton. Mr. Winters has reviewed this. It's in proper form. This is, the only thing, I did have a suggestion, and I don't know if we can, I don't know, is the person here that is proposing this? I didn't know if we could go, it says you can go 10 years. So I was wondering, or you can do less than 10 years. I didn't know if you wanted to reevaluate it in 5. I know when we did Comcast, which is now Xfinity, we did a long-term agreement. It was 30 years. It's about up, right? Yeah, this is 10.
Yeah.
But it said you could do 5, and I don't know if anyone thought about that. If you don't think it's important. Just a lot of things happen quickly, but this is DirecTV, is that correct?
AT&T is rebranded as DirecTV. And I think our previous one was for 10 years, so this isn't the first time we've done it.
Right. And I do realize that, but I know AT&T has caused a lot of issues in our community with our residents, especially when they're laying new cable and for high-speed internet. Restoration is an issue, and I guess I would like to suggest that we do 5 years instead of 10, just as a way to make sure we hold them accountable more than they're not communicative with our residents at all. And you've identified a lot of,
Well, we can check on that, but I think timing-wise, it came in January, and if we don't act on it, then I.
yeah, just 5 years versus 10.
No, I think when it came in January, we're acting on it in March. I'm not sure, I mean, we could check in with them, but I think it's already something that's in process.
Oh, so we can't change it.
And,
Yeah, I
don't
think, okay,
but-
okay.
I
Sorry.
would
Sorry
have,
about that.
Well, then maybe we can let them know and get to know them so that they can help our residents, because they're digging up yards, they're not restoring it, they're not taking care of their utility boxes, and we just need a contact person that
Yeah.
is accountable for that.
Agreed.
so we can't change it to 5 years
I think because of the timing of it, it's already,
in motion.
Under FAA rules, or-
and it's
yeah,
because the rules are, if like
I
there's
think
no
it's a-
response, then
FEC.
it's, my understanding is that it's power that was taken away from the local municipalities in lieu of the state creating more uniforms. That's why it's called the uniformed agreement. And so we do have a contact person that's reached out, so maybe we can work through that. I know we had somebody who, we had a contact with AT&T, but AT&T has been not very helpful. I know
At all.
that the boxes right now are a mess. I mean, you drive all over really every community, it's not just our community, where I think they must be taking taking copper wire out of the boxes, so the boxes are left open, like if you look all over the place. Like, so we need somebody to communicate with us on how they take care of that, because it doesn't look like they have a regular system for monitoring it.
All right, so I withdraw my suggestion. We have a motion and support to approve the agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4 is to waive the financial policy and approve Civic Plus as a vendor for dock accent with agenda and meeting management in the amount of $25,527 for the first year and $24,127 for the second year of the contract, with a 3% increase, is uplift increase. Budgeted, which is budgeted in line item 101-228-857-100. We need a motion.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge.
Support.
Support Newman. And I know Travis is here, and I want to thank Angie Rogers and Rebecca or Becky, I call her Becky, in IT, who put this together. The federal government said that we have to have everything that's ADA compliant, and I know Clerk Swanson knows more about this than I do. And we got a letter yesterday, so it had to be compliant by a certain date this year. And yesterday, we got notified that it was extended, but we still need to do it. So it makes your agendas and everything on the website ADA accessible. So it's required by law. We're just going to get ahead of it now that they've given us an extension. But I do know a lot of work was put into it. And this was a recommendation. The 3 full-time officials had a presentation from the company, and you could try to do it yourself, and then you have to teach the next person how to do it, or you can have this software do it automatically, which is much easier, and it's consistent regardless who's in what chairs as our directors or at this board level. It will automatically do it for us. So
You're right. The only thing I was going to mention, which you already kind of covered, is that at the time we put it on the agenda, we thought the deadline would be the end of the month. And then we found out Monday, I think, that they had extended that for a year. And so the thinking now is we just need to move forward, make sure people are trained so that we can get the work done rather than wait and be in the same position under pressure. So it'll allow us to, there were two parts. One part would have been a tool that we could use, but in this way, we'll learn, like as our agenda meeting, all those things get submitted, it will automatically do that for us so that the website is ADA accessible automatically because it doesn't read currently images or other things when it gets to it. And so this will help make sure that we're compliant. And then they started with larger municipalities had the first deadline, smaller ones had a later deadline, so I don't know if it's going to push that back from them. But this will really help a lot in helping us be compliant.
Any other questions or comments?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So let me understand this. So for the $25,527, that's a extended contract, is that correct?
It's annual.
Annual?
It's going to be an annual contract.
Okay.
Like we do with BSNA
Right.
and other.
Then it drops to 24,000 something. So they give us a discount, and how long does this take? Is this a 2-year contract with them to get it done, or what?
So it would be a contract that would be, we'd have to continue because we'd have to keep making things ADA compliant. It's
So
like
it'll be continuous?
It's every,
How would the pricing go for the third, or you negotiate after
There's
that?
a percent.
I see that 3%
Yeah, that's
uplift.
the uplift, yeah.
So the 3% would be the uplift every year?
At this point right in time, when we were negotiating with them originally, they had a 5% uplift, and we negotiated with them to get it down to 3%.
3%.
Is
That's
there-
why it's going down to the 24, 24. Is that correct? Or not? No, the first year is
Yeah,
an amount of $25,000
yeah,
for the first year and
Yeah.
$24,000 for the
Yeah.
second year.
with a 3%.
With a 3%.
Lift, so there's going to be an uplift every year. So the base price plus the uplift.
Thank you.
any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, cloud hosting and security, where are we hosting? Where are we hosting? Where are we holding
This information?
this data?
Who does our host?
Is this going to be through a data sender?
Yeah, it stores data, yeah. We do it right now, and we back up. We have a contract with the company to do it, yeah. It's required.
Okay.
We have a few other products that we use Civic Plus for, but most are moving towards, like even our BSNA, moving towards a cloud. So if you don't move to that, or Travis, you might be able to speak better to this, you end up not having a product, or the product that you had doesn't sustain itself in the way it does with the cloud. So we've been doing all our stuff independently with the agendas, but it becomes more burdensome when you add the ADA compliance to it, because it requires us to kind of self-do those things. A lot of municipalities, including the county, I think the city, I mean, many around us are at Civic Plus, have been with Civic Plus. We're one of the, I don't want to say the last ones, but we're late to moving to that kind of a system, because we were kind of doing it on our own, but then it just gets to be too much if you've got to make sure all those graphs, charts, all those things that get in our packet, if they're on the website, they have to be ADA compliant. They've given us a year extension, but we were really scrambling to learn how to do it. And so this is going to make it easier for the people. Plus, there are also documents that are on our website. Like, you can go back and look at minutes for quite some time. If it has to be archived, or it has to be, and there's a certain point, I'm not sure how that's going to impact the archiving now that they gave an extension, but if you archive it, it has to be done in a certain way. So it just sort of involves a lot with a few employees trying to make sure that we're compliant, and then if you aren't compliant, you have something on the website, then that invites the opportunity for a lawsuit to happen because we're not compliant. So it's just safest for us to make sure we get that work done and we learn how to do it right now. But it is data center and a lot of it's cloud related now. So is that accurate, Travis, or is there something else you'd want to add to that?
Pretty much covers it.
'Cause I'm definitely not IT.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is to approve professional service agreement with Bar Engineering of Ann Arbor for services to maintain compliance with Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which is FERC, and is budgeted.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support Peterson.
support Peterson. Mike from Hydro Dam couldn't be here this evening. So Bar Engineering we have used for years, and we are in the FERC compliance stage, which you have to do every so many years when you have a hydro dam. So this allows us to continue with Bar Engineering and comply with the FERC standards. Any questions or comments?
So I just want to express appreciation to Mike and the employees who help take care of our dam and make sure that we on a regular basis are following the guidelines. I mean, if over the past weeks with the flooding and everything that's happening with dams around the country, or not the country, but especially in Michigan right now, it's so important to be able to continually maintain that critical infrastructure, because if not, then even when it is maintained, when the water comes. So I really appreciate the way the township has taken care of the dam and made sure that we follow what we're supposed to follow.
So the professional service contract will lay out the hourly rate for everyone that works on the different parts of the FERC regulation. So we've been with them for a long time. They're very good. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6 is approve W.J. O'Neill Company to replace the network controllers for the Township HVAC operating system for $17,000, which is budgeted.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support Peterson.
support Peterson. Mr. Hine?
Good evening, John Hines, Municipal Service Director. Making the request for W.J. O'Neill, who is our contracted HVAC vendor, to upgrade our JACE system, which is the Java Application Control Engine, which basically helps us control our HVAC for our sites at the Civic Center, 14B District Court, Community Center, Golf Course Pro Shop, and Law Enforcement Center for $17,000. This would be budgeted in the appropriate budgets for each department. The recreation would be contingent upon a line item transfer. Earlier this winter, IS Manager McDougall alerted me that our HVAC software currently would be end of life as of the end of 2027, which means it would no longer be serviced. And if I'm quoting him correctly, it is our only remaining system that's still utilizing Windows 2016. So due to that fact, we reached out to W.J. O'Neill to get a proposal for what it would be to upgrade the system. And their proposal, which is why we're bringing it now, of $17,000, is if we were to wait till after June 20th of this year, it would jump to $29,000, because then they would have to move it into next year's pricing. So this does give us a considerable break, and we're going to get ahead of basically this becoming an issue next year when it's no longer serviced.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7 is to approve the proposal from W.J. O'Neill Company to update the 14B Court and Township IT thermostats and add them to our software system for $14,995.
So move Peterson.
Motion Peterson,
Support.
support Eldridge. Mr. Hines?
Yep. So this is a request again from W.J. O'Neill, who is our contracted HVAC vendor, to update the remaining thermostats at the 14B District Court. With the grant that we did, which brought in 2 new rooftop units, We did retrofit the 6 existing into this, I'd say, new orchestration that they did. The one thing that was not included, though, was updating the thermostats. And due to that fact, the existing thermostats had trouble communicating with the software that we had in place that we were looking to replace. We did bring in WJ to fix 3 of them to get things, I would say, working in the meantime, because some areas were extremely cold because the thermostats on the wall were not responding to the system. So 3 of the thermostats have been replaced. So this quote is for 3 new that have not been done, and then bringing all 6 into our existing system. This does have to be done before they're brought into the prior board item to update, because you have to go step by step. So right now, we're only controlling those units by the local units on the wall, which makes things very difficult to keep temperature for the staff, whereas normally myself or Mike Saranen are able to log onto the computer and make adjustments as they happen. So this would make things, again, much more streamlined, as we try to have in every location. And I'd say it's very important to do, especially replacing the 3 that have not been done, because we still have a difficult time controlling the temperatures in those areas.
Questions regarding that? Get it all on the same system, right?
Yes.
We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 8 is approve W.J. O'Neill to perform a fan array retrofit of the air handler unit number 3 at the Civic Center for $57,750, which is budgeted.
Contingent on budget amendment.
Not on here. Contingent upon budget amendment. A motion would be in order.
So moved, Peterson.
Motion Peterson,
Support.
support Eldridge. This was not planned.
This was not planned, but it's something that we've been trying to address for the last 2 years at least. The air handler unit number 3 is the unit which is located in our HR and accounting area. And what is interesting about that unit was it was put in place before the walls around it were built, which has made any sort of replacement very difficult to do, because as they told me, if we were to remove this imbalanced shaft, we would need to take out the wall that is built around it. So the solution that WJ has come up with is to utilize the existing housing of the air handler unit, including the existing vents and body, and do this what they call fan array retrofit. Over the past 2 years, they've been out no less than 5 times to try more cost-effective options. They have found loose nuts and bolts to take apart. They have rebalanced the shaft. They have tried to adjust the belt speed. All these solutions would work for a short time, whether it be a few weeks to a couple months. And at the end of the day, because, of course, the amount of use that it needs to have, which is running daily, that shaft just keeps getting out of balance, which just brings such a noise to the area that it's very disruptive to all those working around it. And it's just, you know that one day it's going to run itself out of balance, that it actually fails, and that could be a catastrophic damage, if not an injury, especially with how close that our staff work to that unit. So I think this is a very good option and probably the most cost-effective for a full replacement that doesn't involve taking down the walls and replacing it with another air handler in its place.
Questions or comments?
And when will this take place? How long will it take place to do this unit?
They gave us a timeline of 8 to 10 weeks. You know, ideally, it'd happen quicker, but you're dependent on parts.
Will people be relocated then?
Will they,
I don't believe they would have to, but there might be some temporary relocation depending on when they take things out. That'd be something I would have to coordinate with them, but we did not have that discussion when they were on site, so I don't believe they're going to have to.
So will this be ductwork and all, or just a unit?
Just the unit. So,
unit.
yeah, with their suggestion, the existing ductwork gets to stay, which makes this considerably less obtrusive.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? This was brought to our attention by the people who work in that area, and the the noise was unbearable. And sometimes it balances it way out, but then it comes back again. And it just depends on if you turn the thermostat, the temperature of the thermostat. So we have to get it fixed in order.
Yeah, because like I mentioned, you know, if you have a belt that runs in balance, I mean, just like if it's on a vehicle, you know, if it's unbalanced long enough, it's going to considerably get worse, and then it might actually, yeah, like I said, have a catastrophic failure.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing this forward in a quick manner to address the people who work in the area as well. And we do have, if they have to be moved, we do have a place. Thanks to you, looking for an alternative location if the noise just gets way too unbearable. So they're coming up with a couple of other solutions so you don't have to move everyone. But if we have to move them, we have found a space to do that. So thank you, John, for doing that. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
The next item is to accept the resignation of Larry Doe from the Planning Commission effective immediately.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge,
Support, Pete. Go ahead, Thornton.
support Thornton to accept his resignation effective immediately. Larry Doe has been with his community for many, many years and served on many committees, and we'll miss him. So we'll go through the process of posting this on our website, and we're making a recommendation back to the Township Board for an appointment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is budget amendment number 6.
Motion to amend the 2026 budget number 6, move to increase the general fund budget by $368,880 to $12,863,879 and approve the department line item changes as outlined. So moved.
Motion Swanson,
Support Peterson.
support Peterson. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under authorization and bids, number 1 is to accept the bid for vegetation and blight removal for Looking Good LLC, which is budgeted. And this is for the blight removal and mowing of properties that are, we have a motion?
Support.
Motion Eldridge, support Thornton. Questions or comments?
Is there an amount?
What's it, I'm sorry, trustees, what is your question?
Oh, it says, is there an amount in here, or?
It's on a per basis, per lot.
Okay,
It's in the packet.
okay.
So they bid it out based on the lot that needs to be mowed and if there is a cleanup.
Yeah, it's based on cubic yards for the cleanup and hourly rate, and then based on the lot size and whether it's developed or an undeveloped lot. The sheets were, I think the sheets were in the packet, the bid sheets.
And you're also asking to add, correct? Eco,
Yeah, and then as a secondary contractor, accept the pricing in the bid from Ecolon.
and we do this for sidewalks. We have two, if one is busy, then someone can go out and do the repair.
Right.
But the mowing contract, Looking Good's only,
Yes.
it's not a contract, it's kind of, it's, yeah, it's as needed. It's really not a contract, it's a vendor
Right.
that is being, and they have to make sure they have all the necessary insurance in place and a list of the employees, which they provided, but
They did. Yeah, this will really just lock in the costs of what they're going to charge us per job.
questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Belinda. At this time, we can have public comments. You go to the microphone and give your name and let us know if you're a township resident or not. We'd appreciate it. Are there any public comments?
Jeremy Haley, resident. I just want to thank you for the time you've been putting in on the data center with U of M and stuff. I know there's a lot that's been put into it. And for about the part where they want to do kind of thermonuclear war games, warfare stuff, just go back to the 1983 film War Games with Matthew Broderick. And the computer they had called Whopper then, that had only figured out how that to play the game is not to play, because they just had it play tic-tac-toe enough, and it figured out you always hand it a stalemate, so there's no way to win. That's kind of the same thing that they're going to be doing there. And if you watch the movie, it's the early days of dial-up in 1982 that they showed in that movie before it actually came out 8 years later. It's kind of cool. But there is going to be economic harm to the township because I've already heard from other people who I know, who they know in the township, and they said they're already thinking about selling now. And when they do sell, they're probably not going to go for the highest price. They're probably just going to sell for the price that they can get it and get out. And that's going to be detrimental to the township even more so. And if it does get in place, that's just going to go on a faster pace, and people are just going to sell for whatever they can and just get out. So, the last thing is the street sweeper came by. It did a great job for the people who actually cleaned the leaves out prior to winter and letting them sit all winter in the curb. Those curbs look excellent, awesome. The ones that did not, no matter how many times you send those things by, they ain't gonna do crap with them. I see it on my own. If it's the residents' responsibility to pick them up, they should be really aware, and it's your responsibility to make sure that they're aware. It is their responsibility to make sure that they clean them up. Because from what I saw, the street sweeper can come by a couple of other times and it still won't get all the leaves that's still left. And how nasty, but if you go by, you can tell who picked them up and who didn't. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, under other business, this was an emergency issue that arose last Friday. Saturday, they came out and did a actual videotape of the repairs of the boat ramp, and it has collapsed. We had roundtable meeting with John and his staff, Michael Sarin, Matt, and Attorney Winters, and the full-time officials. We have a quote for a repair to this, and it's $479,000 to do it. We've met, and Giovanna Neal our accounting director, spoken to our auditor and used the capital outlay under the police services budget, because we have a marine patrol that must be out there, and we have to have emergency access for police and fire and rescue teams if someone is drowning in the lake. Right now it is closed. Our residents can't launch their boats there, and neither can any of our emergency responders. We did look at the team. They looked at Lakeshore, who had a launch, and their ramp has separated just like ours has, and therefore they're not using that. And that is literally the only access onto Ford Lake. And Attorney Winters agrees that it is an emergency. Giovanna Neal, our county director, agrees from a financial standpoint it's emergency and liability on the township. So we're sorry to bring this up, but it literally just occurred. And we have a company, Solomon, who has done work before on this ramp and has also done work at the hydro dam. So we're asking for permission for the full-time officials and township attorney to make sure everything is in order on this agreement to repair it and restore it so that it is usable in 2 weeks or estimated time,
They said closer to 4, like 3 to 4-ish, but
3 to 4 weeks in
weather
order
depending, of course.
to get it repaired, and looking at some temporary thing so the emergency responders can get out. So it's a very serious issue. It's not one we planned, and it's a lot of money, but people's lives will be affected if we do not do this. So we're asking for permission for the 3 full-time officials and our township attorney with the staff to get this in proper form so they can start the repair as soon as possible. Questions? I'm sure there's a lot.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So I hear you in 4 weeks. That'll put you in June, around June, maybe the end of June, preparing for the Road Fest. It will be done before that.
The optimistic goal would be Memorial Day, at this point. If, again, depending on when everything was in order, if they're able to start, by, let's say, next week, they said 3 to 4 weeks. So the hope would be Memorial Day, but you never want to guarantee anything with Michigan weather.
So anybody who goes down there fishing, that's going to be closed down till then?
Right now it is,
But
yeah.
there's no accidents, no concerns. I mean, it's blocked off, right?
Yeah, so right
Sealed.
now we have both docks horizontally blocking it off, so you cannot get a boat down there unless you move those first.
And how about people just go down there on the dock and fish? They won't be able to do that either, will they? Because it's not safe, right?
The docks are okay. I mean, obviously the
one
ones that
dock,
are, no, there's a dock on either side that they could technically walk on, which would be fine. It's the launch itself, so it's the concrete
Just
slab.
the launch where the boats go down and in the water?
Yep.
Okay, just trying to get an understanding. Also, John, I'm going to be brief. Also, did we get a contract from them?
This is,
Doug, or, because this is agreement.
It's a
they're gonna
proposal.
do.
This is
Just
the
a
proposal.
proposal?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's why we're asking for,
okay, and then if we accept it, of course, we're going to get a contract.
Yeah.
Because, when you put this kind of money out,
yes.
and believe me, I'm not here to kick it because it is important. Because a lot of people do use that dock, and with the activities we got coming up, with the massive boat show, has to be done.
Yeah.
But hopefully, it will last for a while.
Yeah.
Is there any guarantee how long the work will last? Or
that's something I'm trying to work on. I mean,
Okay.
so just to give the quick
some kind
synopsis.
of warranty that they're going to go in there and do close to $500,000 worth of work, and they're going to do an adequate job.
Yeah, so to give the quick synopsis, I can't say better than Supervisor Stumbo,
Yeah.
but we chose Solomon Diving because they have worked on the boat launch before. They actually did identify this as a potential threat years ago, but they've worked with Michael at the dam for over 20 years. So what their plan would be, as a repair, is basically to remove the slabs and regrade them. And then, of course, they'll take the bottom edge that has failed, rebuild underneath. They're going to drive new iron pilings through them to refortify that structure, and then do 8 to 10 feet of armor stone, as they call it, out past that, which should give us many, many years more of life. So we can look at a potential replacement, down the road without being in a rush. Basically this has all happened so fast, and I feel like I've gotten a master's course of boat launch in 6 days, but our team went to go put the docks in last week, and as they pushed them out, they turn around after they've done the work and notice that it's sunk in. So Solomon again was contacted because they did video this back in 2021 after a boat trailer got its axle ripped off, and they came out, videotaped it on Saturday, and just noticed that due to the continued boat washing, where it's taken the stone from underneath the slabs that were already just hanging, whether it just be from the weather, from just the amount of use, or some potential heavy boats that we'll need to have some follow-up engineers give us a size limit in the future, but the heavy use pushed it over and just cracked it off from the edge. So if you were to take a trailer down there now, it's going to get hung up and it's going to cause a lot of damage to the trailer and the boat.
Thank you very much.
Good questions, and there will be performance bonds, liability insurance, and everything that Doug will make sure that they have. This is, I don't even know what to say. No one expected this to happen. And
Take care of it.
We have to take care of it, yeah, and our residents who have boats in storage need to get them in Ford Lake as well, and they do this every year, and they do it about this time of year, but right now we can't. There's no way to get in safely without damaging their boat. And so we're trying to figure out how to accommodate our residents as well, but primarily, we need to make sure that our first responders and public health and safety has got to get this as soon as possible.
And I did-
Michael Sarin did say that a shorter boat could go from Bridge Road. So he reached out to the Marine Division and to see, make sure that they can actually have access temporarily there in order to accommodate if there's anyone that is in distress or something happens, yeah.
And Solomon would be working with, and again, we'd get everything in order, but with Dean Marine and Excavating, and again, from what I've learned from just being able to do research since they sent the proposal, this company seems very experienced in marine work, working all the way from Michigan to New York, doing all sorts of shoreline restoration, dock reconstruction. Their list of actual things they do is quite expansive beyond that, but as far as we need, they've done this on a much larger scale than what we would need, so it should be something very straightforward for them.
We have reached out, maybe other people who could help with this cost, but it's like an emergency grant, and we don't know if they have that. So we'll keep looking and seeing if someone can assist with this large repair. But again, it's public health and safety. So I appreciate the board's consideration on this greatly. We have a motion and support. Oh, we don't?
So moved.
Oh, motion Eldridge.
Support Peterson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, John and team. There are board member comments? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Motion Eldridge, support Thornton to adjourn at 7:46. Thank you.
Oh, got through it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.